Okay, thank you everyone for coming. We're going to have Marcus Meacham today, aka Count Dankula. He'll be talking about free speech and where the limits are, where the limits should be. Should there be limits? So I don't think I can add anything. I don't think I'm as interesting as he is. So I'll just let him speak about his experience.
I'm not going to lie, I don't know if anybody's seen me crying on Twitter the other day, but I've just had a tooth extracted and I'm high on painkillers right now. I'm not going to be on top form, but I'll try my best. For those that don't know me, I'm Count Dankula. I'm a YouTuber and I was arrested and charged with hate crime. Guess a lot of people know. I taught my girlfriend's dog to Nazi salute as a joke and react to the phrase "gas the Jews." Still gets a laugh. And basically I was arrested and charged with hate crime and the trial is still ongoing 2 years later. Just to sort of go into a bit of background about why I did it and all the events that happened that led up to this point. My girlfriend loves the dog more than me. She thinks it's the cutest thing in the world, so I thought it would be funny to turn it into the most horrible thing in the world. Key point there, horrible, because nobody in the police seemed to listen to that part. And basically teach it to Nazi salute and react to the phrase. And I made a video which I planned to show her. I uploaded it to my YouTube channel, which at the time had about 8 subscribers who were all people that I knew, IRL. And nobody knew about it, and I was waiting for a point where we were having a movie night and I was going to go, oh, I've got something funny we could watch. Just stick it on. But never got around to doing that, and then I went to Iceland for EVE Online Fan Fest. What I didn't know is as soon as I got on the plane, obviously I lost mobile phone signal and I didn't get any signal because I was in another country, not knowing that the entire time I wasn't online. The video was blowing up back home. As soon as I arrived in Iceland, I went out, got absolutely drunk, stowed back to my hotel room. The next day connected to the Wi-Fi and my phone blew up, and I realised what had happened, and also the press were actually at my house to speak to my girlfriend, and my girlfriend, being a fucking idiot, let them in. And basically told them stuff. They then went on to write a bunch of hit pieces about me, because it's the press, that's what they do, outrage sells. But I ended up, while I was in Iceland, I got an email from my employer telling me that I was fired, but it was a minimum wage call centre, so who gives a fuck? Ended up while I was there, I kept getting articles written about me by the press, I kept getting contacted by the press who are quite rightly told to fuck off. See if you're ever involved in anything and the press try and talk to you, they'll feed you the whole, oh, we want to tell your side of the story, no, like bullshit, tell them to fuck off, right? None of the mainstream media are on your side. If you've possibly done something bad, don't speak to them. But it ended up, I arrived home and I went in to my girlfriend, who was obviously fucking furious at the fact that the press were kept trying to knock the door the entire time I was away. A few days later, I got a knock at the door, and it was two, basically criminal investigation department. It was 2 police officers who came in and said, I guess you know why we're here. I said, I've got an idea. And they asked me why I made the video, what was the purpose of it, and I sat there and explained it to them, and they just flat out turned around and said, well, we're here to arrest you. And I was just like, well, alright. So I was in my pyjamas and I went, can I get changed? And so while I was in the room, one of the police officers had to like watch me getting changed. And while I was doing that, the other police officer was going around the house taking pictures of everything. Literally every part of my house, my PC set up, even the toilet. They were going around taking pictures of everything, but the thing that I found amazing was they didn't notice my weed sitting on my PC desk. Scotland's finest. Ended up, I got handcuffed, because obviously it means I'm dangerous. So I got handcuffed, my girlfriend's crying and going off her head and actually screaming at the police, and I was like, please shut the fuck up, you're not making this any better. And I got led outside the house to the press who were waiting outside, and all of it is a quite close-knit community that I was living in. All my neighbours had eyes out for the press and they hadn't seen any of them in days. and all of a sudden the press were there with the police, and I got told by a few neighbours that the press arrived with the police to do something that's called a perp walk, where the press can get pictures and stuff like that. Now, all the information that was given to my lawyer by the police had to be obviously every single thing that they were going to use in evidence against me and everything connected to the trial. According to the police's own guidelines, when they interact with the press, all of it has to be logged and recorded. There has to be notes made of it, and none of that was given to my lawyer, which means that either the press are fucking psychic or the police have broke their own guidelines in order to get pictures of me getting marched out the house. And I ended up got led into the police car and taken down to the cells, wasn't interviewed in the police station, and I was put straight into a cell. I was then told that due to the nature of my crime, I was going to be kept in jail until my court date. And I was kept in jail, and bear in mind this was a joke, I was all over a fucking joke, right? So I'm getting kept in prison until my court date. The next morning I got led out, handcuffed to a guard. I see how it's still funny because it was a shitpost, right? I'm handcuffed to a guard, getting led out to a prisoner escort van, where I'm then led into the van and handcuffed to the floor. Right? Fucking Hannibal Lecter shit, man. I'm handcuffed to the floor, but the thing that was quite funny is through the window in another one of the wee holding cells, I actually seen my pal. Me and him had a good catch up. He's one of these guys where you can only hang out with him for a few months at a time when he's out of prison. So I ended up, we get led from the van into the courthouse, and I ended up getting put into this big holding cell room with about 15 other cons. Right, and ended up doing the rounds of what you in for, and go around everyone. So my pal who's sitting next to me basically opened up someone's face with a meat cleaver. The guy sitting on the other side of me attacked the police with a knife when they tried to arrest him, and I had to sit there to this room of serious hardened criminals like, I made a YouTube video. I got arrested and charged with hate crime, and everyone started laughing at me. Right? And my pal who was next to me literally like whispered in my ear going, see if you do go to jail, don't tell him that because you'll get battered. Cheers. Ended up, got brought out to meet my lawyer for the very first time, my court-appointed lawyer, and I walked into the little glass room where he was through the glass, and he was sitting just writing notes for about a minute of silence, and I just sort of sat there awkwardly, and then my lawyer looked up at me and actually said, "Shalom," and I went, "Ah, fuck." Luckily he was joking. But I did actually shit myself. I get led back into the room and ended up, we get kept in there for about 4 more hours, and we're all kind of sleeping shoulder to shoulder on the floor of this room. You know, like the type of thing you usually see on one of those Ross Kemp shows when he visits prison? It was literally like that. And then they basically came in and told me I have procurator's fiscal liberation, which is I just get released on bail just to await my trial, which pissed off everybody in the cell, but fuck them. But ended up as soon as I left, I had to go back up into the courtroom to get my entire family who were waiting in the courthouse to then all leave with me, which was kind of awkward when everyone's sitting waiting and I come in the public door, kind of like, oh no guys, it's alright, just come on. And then after that, it was basically me trying to find work, which was obviously completely unsuccessful because most of the time I get recognised in the interview and get told no, or I would try and like lie about who I was, but then after a week some prick would recognise me, and then it would end up all around the work and I would get fired, and that happened about 8 times because I kept trying to. I didn't want to go on job seekers because I'm not a fucking communist. But ended up I just had nothing else to focus on pretty much, so I just focused on YouTube. I still got the odd hit piece written about me by the press. I even had one member of the press, I'm quite happy to say her name, Xantha Letham, who actually harassed my family with phone calls, called every single member of my family, and she said to us that she's not going to stop calling us until we actually give her a comment. She even phoned my gran, who we managed to hide this entire scenario through. We managed to hide it from her, and then she basically called up and told her. It wasn't until we threatened to get the police involved that she actually finally stopped. And we ended up contacting IPSO, who are the Independent Press Standards Organisation, who are one of the most unfathomably useless fucking organisations on earth. I basically provided actual factual evidence that the press were lying about me, the harassment we got from the press, and the fact, just loads and loads of times where they lied, and IPSO kind of pretty much told me to go fuck myself. Upon looking into IPSO, who were established after the whole phone hacking scandal, ever since their conception they haven't punished a single newspaper. so they're pretty much for show. After that, I had nothing to do with my time pretty much, so I just focused on YouTube. So I managed to meet Alex Jones. Absolute heck back in it. That was months ago as well, and it's just all been downhill from there. I've got him in Skype and we still I should have tried to swing a free water filter out of that. I just done nothing but focus on YouTube. I ended up meeting lots of interesting people. I got to meet my boy Sargon if I can. I wouldn't even rape you. But I got to just meet lots of people, I got to do different talks, and I was just occupying my time with that. I managed to get a job, and I used to do security before the call centre, and I managed to get a job back in security again, because not having a criminal record in there kind of makes you the odd one out. So when I was in security, it was just sort of me 12 hours at a time in some remote location, writing content for my channel, and just kind of hope I didn't get baffled after gypsies. Nearly happened twice. Locked the door just in time. So throughout the entire 2 years, I've been to court 7 times, and each time I kind of go in and thinking this is going to finally be the end of it. And it's just blue balls at the end of each time. There was even one time where the judge himself was pretty sure that I'm pretty sure we're going to get this sorted in the next day. And I told that to everyone, and Lauren Southern turned up, and Tommy Robinson turned up, and fucking everybody turned up just for me to walk out the courthouse like and, he told me I'm something. But some of the things that I can talk about in here is just some of the stuff that the prosecutor was trying to claim. The prosecutor's an interesting guy. I'm actually going to get my juice. The prosecutor is an interesting chap, because the funny thing is, I'm not getting a jury at my trial either, by the way, and that doesn't stink to high heaven, does it? But the prosecutor actually hasn't seen the inside of a courtroom for 6 years. He's actually a senior fiscal deputy, but for some reason came out of retirement just for this. Just like one of those old cop movies. But ended up, some of the things that he was trying to claim in the original evidence, now a lot of people probably know this and I get a lot of shit for it, I used to be a communist as well, and I was involved in a lot of far left groups back in 2009, and obviously I got the evidence sheet submitted to me for everything they collected on me that they planned to use in the trial. And it turns out that anyone who was a member of any left-leaning groups around the 2009 period probably has a file on them from the Scottish Intelligence Service, which I didn't even know was a thing until I got it handed to me in an intelligence sheet. So that was interesting to know that they had a file on me, and even though all I did was sort of hand out leaflets on Buchanan Street saying that 9/11 was an inside job. Jet fuel can't melt steel wheels. But another thing that he tried to say as well is that I uploaded the video to coincide with Holocaust Remembrance Day. At the time, I didn't know there was a Holocaust Remembrance Day, and Holocaust Remembrance Day wasn't until another month and a half after I uploaded the video, so that doesn't even make any sense. And the best thing that the prosecutor has tried to claim is that he refuses to acknowledge the fact that this was a joke. He genuinely thinks that the video could actually inspire people to kill Jews. He even attacked the fact that I include Adolf Hitler's speech in the video, which is on YouTube. So apparently he doesn't have the History channel. But he also tried to claim that I am using Buddha as a smoke screen to sanitise my anti-Semitic views to make them more approachable by the public. And that I secretly am trying to inspire people to become Nazis. And it goes, that was absolutely so ridiculous that Lauren Southern's cameraman had to run out the courtroom because he kept laughing. Right. And one thing that the prosecutor tried to do as well was tried to change what my charge originally was, which means instead of my maximum sentence being 1 year, it would have been 5 years. For fucking me. But luckily the judge rejected that, and I'm trying to remember what point we're at now because most of the time I'm falling asleep. I ended up being me going head to head with the prosecutor, basically to debate free speech and comedy on the internet. And I'm just going to say I fucking thrashed him, and he was raging. He was fucking furious, man, because I went up and I shot down every one of his points. He tried to sort of lean towards me denying the Holocaust and all that a little bit. He tried to go down that route, but as soon as I called him out on it, I seen him just sort of sit the sheet to the side and abandon his next questions. Right, but I kind of feel that I won a battle in a war that I've already lost, because I'm pretty sure that the outcome of this trial was decided before it even went into its first day. There's absolutely no way that the courts are going to allow me to walk away. There's absolutely no way. They've went in too deep and too hard for them to turn back now. Right, they've kept this going on for 2 years. It's officially taken twice as long as Nuremberg, my trial. Twice as long. This is and for the 2 years, my life's been pretty much completely put on hold. I can't get a fucking job anywhere apart from Rebel Media, and fuck that. Nothing against Ezra, nothing against Tommy. I love them, right? But I'm not working for you, not. But and pretty much we're here now. Well, all I pretty much do is make videos on YouTube, piss people off, and I'm still banned for Israel, by the way. As well. But one of the things I like to point out mostly in my videos is double standards, and when it comes to far left SJW ideologues, there is no shortage of them, which is why I'm able to upload weekly. Mostly in the hate crime legislation in the UK itself. The act that I'm actually being charged under is the 2003 Communications Act, and it is section 127, which is to basically use an electronic communications network to post something that is grossly offensive, obscene or indecent in nature. And obviously those things can be subjective, so the thing they try and put forward is that it would be something that any reasonable person would find offensive. And one of the people they brought in to my trial as a witness is a gentleman known as Ephraim Borowski, who is the chairperson for the Scottish Council of Jews, who is basically a professional witness for cases exactly like this. He pretty much does it for a living, right? And this is someone who obviously has a little bit of a bias, and he was classed by the courts to be a reasonable man, who's, even though it's kind of his job to find things that are offensive towards the Jewish community, which is one thing that we notice quite a lot in universities. Everything's offensive nowadays, isn't it? A lot of things are very offensive nowadays. Make my shot. So that's mainly starting here. Sorry, I took painkillers before I came in again. I shouldn't have done that. But that's mostly the things that I point out, is that the idea of being offensive is restricting a hell of a lot of things when it comes to overall discussion. For example, the alt-right I disagree with absolutely wholeheartedly. I don't believe in an ethno-state. I don't know if anyone is familiar with JF, who argues that he's a geneticist when he's not even a fucking doctor at all. And he tries to quote studies and stuff like that that say that black people are apparently genetically inferior in every way, and then as soon as you basically provide evidence that proves him wrong, he just blocks you. He's one of them. Right, but, stuff like that I completely reject in regards to the alt-right, but I also completely reject the idea that absolutely everything is racist and offensive things should be completely struck from the entire conversation in its entirety, because all that does is completely restrict what you can and cannot say. And it's mainly the far left that are pushing that ideology, because they brand everything as racist. It's so easy. I get called a racist 30 times on Twitter before I've even had my fucking cornflakes, just because of some of the stuff that I say. Because they want inclusiveness, where they think that people of colour or anyone of any sexuality apparently needs a leg up, a help, stuff like diversity quotas and all that kind of stuff as well, because apparently they're not able to do it off their own merit. It's called the soft bigotry of low expectations. I think that they are perfectly capable of doing it on their own, and I think to turn around and say, oh no, you need a leg up, is telling them that they're incapable. And apparently I'm the bigot for thinking that they're perfectly capable of achieving it on their own merits. I totally went off this. I wasn't even reading for this the whole time. I'm just looking at it to make it look like I am. But it's just that's mainly the things that I get attacked for. I also get attacked for ridiculous things, like some things I'm completely fine with happening. I just like to make fun of. Did anybody see Feminist Fight Club? It's like they turn around and say it's like, oh, we're just going to beat the patriarchy by beating up each other. All right. But it's just the thing that worries me the most is obviously it is the far left that are pushing this in. I used to consider myself left or centre left, but I've no idea what the fuck I am now. I've got some right-leaning stances, I've got some left-leaning stances, but the far left are pushing this in to basically ban so many topics from the discussion, and most of the time they do it is when they're losing the argument. The funny thing is, everyone's obviously aware of Antifa. The funny thing is that my cousin is actually in Glasgow Antifa. He actually lives in Fastlane Peace Camp, by the way. Yeah, he's one of them. But they always keep pushing to try and get things removed from the conversation, and mostly through violence. I'm sure you've all seen where everyone tries to say that Antifa are the anti-fascists, and they just want peace, love and acceptance, which is why they turn up to rallies with their faces covered in pepper spray and bike locks and all this type of stuff as well, to basically attack people. But now that the far righters are fighting back, Antifa are going, look how violent the right is. I think they're saying as these are the type of people that will scream in agony while punching you in the face themselves. So, but the thing that I find absolutely hilarious is, do you remember during any kind of communist revolution, which is what they think this is because they're LARPers, they think that they are the good guys. Like people that tried to bring in Lenin's rule, they thought they were the good guys. People that tried to bring in Mao thought they were the good guys. Pol Pot thought they were the good guys. And they wanted restrictions on speech and all that other stuff as well, and they thought it was all good and golden until those very same laws against free speech were used on them. And it's happened in literally every single country that has started attacking free speech. And the easiest way to get a law passed without the people like getting all uppity about it is to make them want it, which is what they're doing just now. The left, of the people who are supposed to be anti-establishment, want the establishment to have more power. And that's something that I find absolutely frightening, especially when it comes to speech. Don't know where I'm going to go for here, so I may just finish this part there. Is that alright? What is it that happens next?
So now if anyone has any questions or any remarks they would want to add, just raise your hand.
Who do you vote for? Or do you vote on?
I didn't vote for anybody. We had the only people that were in my constituency was Lib Dems, because they're still around apparently. There was also Labour. No. There was also the Tories as well. I like Mog, but I don't like the Tories. I'm just kind of jaded with what political parties are available at the moment, if I'm being honest. Maybe one day.
What's your opinion on the SNP, by the way? Just curious. From your point of view.
The thing that's funny is most of the free speech legislation that's getting pushed in is the SNP themselves. I don't know if anybody's seen the video where some SNP and also the Green Party, who are a fun bunch, apologising for being male. Because you know you should feel bad for your gender.
Very extreme, like left wing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Are they? Stood up in Parliament and basically saying that there was a lot of people that were saying that men should actually quit Parliament as well to make way for more women. It's like I don't care about any women being in a position. I care about them being capable. I don't want someone getting a job just because of their sexuality or race or anything like that. I want them to get the job because they actually can do the job. See if the next Prime Minister was a transsexual, bigender Muslim or something like that, if they were amazing at the job, I don't care. As long as they're able to do the job, then I don't give a shit. So I went a bit about there. I don't like the SNP. Because one of the things that they had, one of the acts that I'm actually being charged under is the Offensive Behaviour at Football Act, which is a little bit dated, because although there obviously still is football violence, it's nothing compared to the way it was in like the 80s, 90s, which is when it was extreme. And basically everybody wants the act gone, except for one party, the SNP, as well. And when people were trying to rally support for me, they were writing all their MPs and stuff like that. There was lots of replies back that were support of me. Most of them were for Labour. That's probably the momentum guys. They don't like Israel. Fault the many, not the few. That's not me saying that. But all the ones that we got back from the SNP basically were saying that they absolutely condemn hate speech in all forms in any way, so that just kind of shows you what they're like.
As someone who's kind of always used to be quite left, I used to be left wing, regrettably. I used to think that it was all just like Alex Jones and his gay frogs telling me that my free speech had been took away. Yeah. And then I went to college and I got called a racist for saying that white people shouldn't get charged £10 more. And do you think like charge £10 can I speak? £10 more for being white.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, how's that racist? And I've actually been threatened by action because of our lecture.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, do you think there's a way back from this whole idea of the left controlling academia and the media?
It's going to reverse soon, the stuff that's going on in universities, because you've heard of everything that happened at UC Davis as well, basically. They've actually had to shut down because they basically have all the stories and stuff like that that's happening at the universities, which the case people, apparently one of the bravest things you can do is in Scotland is walk through Brighton with a Celtic top. The bravest thing you can do in America is walk through a university campus wearing a MAGA hat. But that's eventually going to reverse because universities should be completely apolitical. I don't mind them teaching about politics, but when you've got universities that are hiring professors who are far left ideologues ready to punish students simply for thinking differently, when a university is supposed to be where you go to sculpt and shape ideas, not indoctrinate them, it's eventually all going to reverse as soon as people start pulling out their funding, because the left aren't as numerous as they like to think they are.
Yeah, the thing is, like, see with the alt-right, we all know what they want. Like, they want an ethno-state, and they don't exactly lie about it. They're pretty straightforward about how much they hate Italians who look funnily enough like them.
Yeah.
But
half of the jury's still out the Greeks, they've not decided if they're white yet.
But what is the goal with the alt-left? Like, what is the goal with this like alt-left, far-left agenda? Like,
it's an absolute utopia where everybody's a farmer and everyone just shares everything. The orgasms have been abolished and all that type of stuff as well. Everyone's just going to be a farmer. Like, apparently that is the overall goal. I had a good argument with an anarcho-communist online. They're the best ones. They basically go abolish absolutely everything and basically everyone doesn't live under any laws and stuff like that. And I turned around to him and basically says that, okay, you'll establish your little commune. What is going to stop me and 30 of my boys coming round there and raping and killing your women and taking all your shit and just totally plundering your village? Oh, we'll just band together to stop you. And I was like, how do you not know the other villagers aren't going to do it to you the next day? What are you going to do? Phone the police? There's no police. And most of them, you've obviously seen them at the rallies. They can't exactly fight. They can't exactly defend themselves. And he says that men like that won't exist in our society. There will always be men like that. People that always want the power. See, as soon as law goes away, it might stay that way for a couple of decades, but then it will eventually come back.
young teams will come back.
Young teams will come back. World War IV will be fought with bucky bottles.
Einstein said that, wasn't it?
What?
Einstein said that,
I
wasn't
was thinking, actually.
You seem to be a lot more tech savvy for me, from what I can gather. I mean, I'm practically a Luddite, but YouTube is good a platform as it is. What do we do in a situation where they decide to pull the plug on anybody that they don't like or agree with? Do you know of anything that's in place, or anybody out there with any ideas to build something, build another platform that you could reach people through, so that you don't need to wait to the time where they pull the plug and you get nowhere else to go?
Most people are moving to BitChute, but the only problem is that the problem with YouTube is YouTube does have a monopoly as far as media goes. They are the site, they're the one that gets referenced constantly in pop culture, is the one that everybody knows. Other ones you would need to hear about through word of mouth or until a big creator finally moves to it. I know that a lot of people for the alt-right upload stuff that would usually get struck down on YouTube. They upload that over on BitChute instead, which unfortunately, because they're the first ones to go, usually from any media platform, so when they move to the alternative, that alternative immediately gets branded as, you know, the far right Nazi love. And it happened to Gab, it happened to BitChute, and there's a few other services as well that have done it. So the only problem is if you move there yourself, you'll get branded an alt-right Nazi. Unfortunately, that's just the way they work.
Hey, so obviously over the last couple of years you've gone through a lot of fucking shit, right? And you've also achieved international fame and notoriety, and you're speaking to minimum tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people. Was it worth it? Would you do it again?
I had some laugh. The fact that I was able to meet Alex Jones and actually get Lena Dunham herself to tell me to go fuck myself. More than happy with that, man. Like, it's been fun, it's been a hell of a ride, because the funny thing is I should have been nobody. I shouldn't be here now, man, and even now I'm still sitting here like, I'm giving a talk at a uni, man. I used to just fucking sit in my room, shitpost online and smoke weed. Just unfortunately, one of my shitposts was a little bit too fucking spicy. And now I'm fucking here, like, I never asked for this. But,
I've got you saying, I'll do it again!
I'll do it again, I want to do it again.
So now the kind of range of ideas that the left deems acceptable, it's just got smaller views.
Yeah.
5-10 years down the line, what do you think's going to be left?
Well, they're eating themselves alive just now.
Oh, yeah,
They're doing the exact same purity tests on each other that the alt-right do. You know, they found out that, I think who was her name? Anybody know Tara McCarthy?
Yeah.
Did she know find out they're all doing DNA tests?
Oh, yeah.
Who's the whitest? And apparently she came back as something like 12% Indian or something like that as well. So she's earned the nickname Tara McSwarthy. A lot of people like to bring that up there. There's also people as well like the golden one. Who's familiar with him? The great big, oh, you better have a look at him. He's basically this huge buff Viking guy that talks about protecting Europe. And then like that talks about masculinity when he kind of looks like a gay porn star. You know that, but like the exact same thing that the alt-right are doing, the left are now doing as well. Who's the least racist? Who's the most accepting and stuff like that? And they are starting to eat each other alive over it, especially serfs and TERFs, big time. There's trans women apparently aren't women, so the trans exclusionary radical feminists don't want to fight for their rights and don't recognise them as women, which is something I obviously completely disagree with. Flat, they've got the exact same rights as everybody bloody else.
So, should there not be any limits on free speech at all? Because you cannot really argue that there are difficult things that are hate crime. So, do you have to separate intent from product, and how can you do that? How can you, like, I do feel that there's maybe like sometimes there are some things that you should take offline, like Logan Paul's filming a dead body hanging from a tree. Like, I don't know. I would think that there are some things that are considered offensive. I'm not saying that yours is.
Yeah.
But like, is there a line that we should try? You say reasonable. Reasonable is subjective, but you can't just keep on talking around in circles and not getting anywhere.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's like the only thing that I'm kind of happy with information being withheld from is, for example, kids. So see how obviously Logan Paul's primary audience is kids. No, he should be uploading videos of him parading around a dead body. Right, that's why I'm kind of against that. But like the fact that it should be removed in its entirety, it's not something I want to see, but if other people want to look at it, you know, they have the ability to do that. There's some things in regards to censorship which in regards to kids I'm fine with. Like I don't know if anyone's familiar with the instance that happened in Australia with Peppa Pig. There was an episode of Peppa Pig which kids watch, and it was an episode that taught you that spiders are friendly and you shouldn't be afraid of spiders, and you could just walk right up to them. And obviously Australia went, no. So information like that being withheld for the sake of kids, like, I'm completely fine with that. I just don't think that all information should be forbidden, but there are some, like, obviously differences with that as well. For example, like I don't think the recipes to make bombs should be publicly available for everybody. But there are certain things, like the Logan Paul video. I don't think it should be removed from the internet in its entirety. I think it is extremely distasteful. I didn't like it. Like I'll admit, I make edgy jokes and stuff like that all the time, but I wouldn't upload a video of me parading around a dead body. That's a bit too far for me. But as regards to reasonable, I don't think that argument ever will end. Most people, because the only problem with that is everyone thinks they're a reasonable person. I consider myself reasonable, but there's lots of people that will think I'm unreasonable. Like, you might consider yourself reasonable, but there's lots of people that will find you unreasonable, so there'll be disagreements on that forever.
Yeah. But like, you can't really argue about the fact that the more this argument polarizes, which is bad for each side, people go more extreme for the right, more extreme for the left. That doesn't bleed into politics, which is how the alt-right kind of came into being and how they're able to communicate and like band together. So if we are creating these platforms for people to express their opinions as much as they can, and like, I want to stress that I'm not for censorship in any way, but like, how do we separate the right to free speech from things devolving into extreme right, Antifa, violence, and like, because this does happen.
The problem with the alt-right is they are extremely careful with what they say. They make sure that they fall within the lines. Like, for example, you've had people like David Duke. He was an ex-Grand Wizard of the KKK. He has been in a lot of trouble because he basically says that Jews should be exterminated. in America, and he blames the Jews for all the problems and stuff like that, and most of the alt-right do as well. But see, the problem is it's an actual call to violence. Now, Millennial Woes did it. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Millennial Woes. He's probably the most popular alt-right Scottish YouTuber. Just because he says that black people were inferior, he believes in that whole bullshit genetic pseudoscience about that. He actually had to flee Britain, which ended up making him even more popular. So the more and more that you go after and attack the alt-right, the stronger and stronger they end up getting. So as both sides are blowing each other up, the more and more racist stuff the alt-right says will make people go in the left think these people need to be stopped, and then the more and more the left like physically attack and beat people up is what is actually pushing them to the right. Both sides are to blame. Both sides are to blame for this, and what I want is for them to meet in ideas instead, because I've seen people debate the alt-right and the alt-right have been absolutely hammered. And that's what I want to see. I want people to abandon ideas through debate, not through force. That's Antifa are obviously the fascists, and this, I don't think I'm answering your question at all, I'm sorry.
But I don't think there is an answer, which makes it kind of like...
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you think trigger warnings have gone too far?
Yes. I've seen it before as well, where people see if you go into a comedy show, expect to get offended, expect it. Right? It's just that, see how, trigger warning before you look at this. I'm sorry, how do you leave the house? Oh man, like, see if it's a case of you have a right to something every time you're offended, you can do that with absolutely everything. Someone could turn around and say, if enough people turn around and say they're offended by gay pride, do you think that would get that shut down? And as well, it's just that people think that because they're offended they suddenly have this power, this right to something, and it's a case of, the government needs to step in, or the university needs to step in, or some other establishment needs to step in to protect my feelings. No, do it yourself. Do it yourself. Like, just because you get upset easily doesn't mean the entire world has to change for you. They're your emotions, you manage them.
Do you think the problem specifically in Scotland is just the culture of Scotland itself, and that's why it's got so many more prolific hate crime laws? Because, for instance, like you could say maybe before 2015, if you're a political party and you wish to be elected, all you have to say is, alright, who hates the Tories the most? And you'll be the one. And I think that's something that I notice in Scotland, is because it's just so partisan and people take politics so seriously that that's maybe the reason why there's more prolific hate crimes in Scotland. I don't know if you agree with that yourself.
Oh no, pretty much the cornerstone of the Scottish upbringing is be nice to everyone, say please and thank you, stick in school and fuck the Tories. That literally is the Scottish upbringing, and I do think that I don't agree with the whole just raising people to hate the Tories because of what Thatcher did like 20-30 years ago. I don't believe in any of that at all. I believe that you should look at a party based on their actual merits, and obviously there's plenty of things that you can criticise the Tories for. Obviously Theresa May's completely fucking Brexit right now, and we should put the Morgan charge. I'm being honest, right? But I don't believe kids should be raised to lean one way or the other. I think people should be able to make their own decision about that, same way as I would expect it with child's sexuality. Don't influence them one way or the other, just let them decide that for themselves.
Yeah, so do you think that's kind of what needs to change if we want to see a big cultural change in Scotland? It's just promoting this idea that you don't like.
There's a lot of partisanship when it comes to certain things, like you're even getting places of work that have a political leaning where people can even get fired just because they don't have the right opinion. It happened with Poké Jungle, it happened with Subnautica, because basically found out one of their members of staff was a Conservative and like basically fired them. So that's social consequences, which is what a lot of people in the far left do. If they can't get you with the law, they'll get you with the social consequences. They'll attack your income and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, if I was actually able to get a job, I wouldn't have done YouTube. I've actually managed to turn people away from the SNP. So see if they'd just left me alone, that wouldn't have fucking happened. The same way Tommy Robinson was a nobody, but as soon as the media like absolutely annihilated him, painted him as a racist and a Nazi and all that stuff, he literally had nothing to do but activism, and look at him now. See if they'd have just left him fuck alone, nobody would have known who he was. But it's idle hands, that whole thing.
In the near future, can you ever see this anti-speech legislation ever being repealed, or do you think due to the prevalence of people being hampered with, we all work hard, don't we, that it would just, the government would just continue to consolidate its power over kind of speech and the internet?
Oh, that's what they're doing. Basically, every single option that the far left want is for the government to have more power, more control. Everything that we want is for them to have less power, less control. We believe the government should exist to protect your rights, not have any kind of lordship over what you can and cannot do that wouldn't infringe on another person's rights. Because I believe anyone should be able to do what they want, you know, as long as they're not bringing harm to themselves or others, and it's not infringing on anybody else's rights. You know, like freedom from religion, freedom of sexuality, all that type of stuff as well. That's what, in particular, I want, mostly, obviously, Fox free speech. But I just see at this point, unless there is radical change, I just basically see laws getting worse and worse, and the government consolidating more power, unless people finally actually do something about it. Because we're seeing it just now. It's just that far left want more authoritarianism, so that's why you're getting a lot of people swinging to the right. Unfortunately, they're going a little bit too far to the right, which is something that I would like to prevent. But I've had people approach me, and Sargon's had it and everything as well. There are people who were swinging to the alt-right thinking that that was the only option to fight against this, because people have been attacked for basically being a filthy white cis male and stuff like that as well. But remember, that's not racist. Can't be racist to white people, apparently. Even though that's the exact same dehumanisation tactic.
Racism is power plus prejudice.
Power plus prejudice,
Sure, I'm right, I'm send it to the Irish, right? That's
less than white, apparently.
It's not even really Irish, black.
Do you not think for like a group of people who are so focused on bringing up history and how shit we are like in the past, that they do a fair good job of ignoring the parallels between like now and Germany? Like pre-Nazis.
Weimar. Weimar
Basically.
Republic, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, because that was what Hitler used to rise to power. Burned down the Reichstag, because the communists did. And which is why when I seen Berkeley on fire, I was a little bit, oh, fuck. No, not this again. No, man, but like, it is something like, Hitler basically was raised to where he got to by the communists. And he even done it like, Hitler was the king of fake news. Right, he basically lied about all the stuff they were doing, and what they would do is beat up their own party members and blame it on the communists. And you're even seeing the right doing that just now. Oh, I went to the Black Panther screening and I got beat up and like all that type of stuff as well. That's things like that I disagree with, because that's them trying to obviously sow racial hatred. But see if the left just shut the fuck up and stop listening to the alt-right. The alt-right will fade away. The alt-right have no institutional power whatsoever. Let them meet in their wee rooms with their fucking stupid suits and daft haircuts and all that. Let them have their wee chat. Well, man, like, because they don't have any kind of power, and I would like to stay that way.
See, sorry, brain just died there.
That's what I've been feeling all day, mate.
See, when I've spoken to people about you who don't really know you, they just seem to have this sort of like, they just assume that you're in the wrong, that there's a reason why you've been taken to court for putting a video of a pug making a Nazi salute. Would you say that for most people who don't know about you, who aren't aware of your core of your case, which is like 90% of the population, I would say, would you say that they're like that themselves, that they just assume that there's a reason for it?
It's because they're only going by what was said in the papers about me. There was online articles that tried to link me to far-right groups, and when they found out that it was actually far-left groups that I used to be involved in, they actually edited all of the articles to remove any references to that. And the media lied an awful lot about me. And it's still going on just now. Vice wrote an article about me as well, trying to say that alt-right vloggers came to the courthouse to actually support me, even though one of them was Lawrence Southern, the other one was Tommy Robinson. Neither are alt-right, neither want an ethno-state, which is what the kind of the paramount thing you need to want to be a member of the alt-right. But most of the people that I came up and spoke to, there was only ever 2 bad experiences that I've had, like, in the real world, face to face. One of them was my neighbour, who obviously skimmed the article and thought that I was a full-blown Nazi, and covered my front door in dog shit. And she was in the street doing that to me and calling me a Nazi bastard. And the thing that was absolutely hilarious about that is the police came and arrested her, and for her calling me a Nazi bastard, she got charged with hate crime. Which is, but that was the thing, is the cops came up and they actually went like, oh, you're charged with hate crime for calling you a Nazi bastard. And I went, I didn't give a fuck about that. I didn't give a look at my fucking door. that was what pissed me off. I didn't give a shit about that, but whatever, it's something. And the other one was, I used to work as a bouncer, which I can't do anymore because I kept getting recognised when I was working the door, and it's kind of hard for anybody to take you seriously when you're a nasty bad guy. So there was one guy who It was fine with me at the start of the night, but then I caught him doing cocaine in the toilets, and he started calling me a Nazi and stuff like that. Funnily enough, he changed his tune because I was throwing him out. But that's the only two bad interactions I've had in real life, because most people come up and just want to get my side, and now that more and more of my stories are actually getting out there, people are realising that the papers are full of shit.
You mentioned that far left ideologues are creating a kind of snapback to the far right, and with the left's sort of grip on academia weakening, do you think we're going to see a snapback to a far right college campus culture, or do you think we'll settle in an equilibrium?
No, I'm hoping for equilibrium. I don't want universities to try and influence what politics you can and cannot believe in, and I don't think anybody should be punished for their politics. I want a university to have a complete equilibrium where all ideas are on the table, everything's up for discussion. People can, I think from there, I want everybody to sort of meet a middle ground. Politics is basically trying to get a delicate balance, and as far as I'm aware in the entirety of history, that's never been fucking done. Right? But the best thing that we can do at that point is try. I don't want far right colleges or far left colleges, I just want colleges or universities to be completely apolitical and that nobody should be punished for their opinions. But I'm completely fine with politics being taught, but not influenced.
Considering a lot of our structures are historically built on inequality, do you think that they can come apart and find a middle ground on their own? I agree with the fact that just having a quota there for the sake of it and without considering people according to their merits doesn't make a lot of sense, but also just expecting people to maybe push for diversity and difference on their own accord when they're already in a seat of power. It might seem obvious to some people, but to a lot of people on the top, they also don't give a shit. So again, not saying I feel like everything I say I need to be I need to make it clear that I'm not for censorship or anything, but I think we're kind of maybe being a bit too optimistic about people when we kind of expect them to just be good people of their own accord.
I think it's the fact is that I don't think it should be unnaturally influenced using institutional power, because that comes along the lines of social engineering. Basically, a lot of people think that, for example, say that 20% of the population is black, that means every single workplace should have 20% of the black population. And as far as representation goes, and I just can't agree with that at all, because you are going to see a lot of people from foreign countries, especially war-torn countries, they're coming over here and they don't really have an education, so you're not really going to see them in any higher positions because they're not qualified for it, which is why they do most of the minimum wage jobs. I'm completely happy with that changing. See how free universities, so they can get out of those jobs and actually get some of the higher positions. I'm completely fine with them doing that, as long as they are qualified, but then in that breath, we need to help them get qualified. So see them coming over here and then going to universities to then get qualified for the job, and then they get the job because they're able to do it. I'm completely fine with that.
But for example, there are a lot of people a lot of old members of parliament who have been there for about 50 to 60 years, white men, middle upper class, and there's a lot of controversy as to whether they should be basically no longer be in parliament because they don't represent most of society.
It's the era that they're from. See how the era that they're from is where basically back when in their heyday, the 60s, 70s, that is when the men worked, the women stayed at home and cooked and cleaned. That was just the way it was back then.
Well, should they stay?
What?
Should they stay, or should they make space for people who have new ideas?
This is the problem. This is where we end up having disagreements. The problem is, see these people, they were the ones where being a man, your status in work was who you were. It was a symbol of power. So what's happened is, they managed to get into the high level positions back then, and they're in it to this day, and unfortunately they're going to stay there until they retire. They're not going to stand aside, they're going to basically say, no, fuck you, I work for this job, I'm going to stay exactly where I am. And this is where a lot of people who want this kind of radical change want it now. And that's the problem. It's a case of this change will eventually happen. You just need to wait for all the boomers to die first. That's just the problem. I understand that obviously people want the diversity now and stuff like that as well, but you can't just force it, because see, when you force, you get resistance. That's the problem. But see, if you obviously make things fair, I'm all for equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. So, and right now we have equality of opportunity. Doors aren't closed to anyone unless it's based on knowledge and obviously ability. So forcing it just now would be bad, which is why anyone that wants that is meeting with the most resistance. But see, if you just leave it, and eventually it will happen. I don't know who it was that quoted this, but it was good people plant trees even though they won't ever sit in their shade. Like that's what people should be doing. They should just go, we've done enough, it's eventually going to happen as soon as all these old white men die. So just leave it to happen naturally. Just it might be in your lifetime, it might not be.
Jordan Peterson and Chomsky have said the same thing basically about the postmodernism and how the whole intersectional leftism has sprung out of postmodernism and the whole power structure thing. And, so what do you think about that? Do you agree with it or?
Postmodernism I'm not 100% clued up in, just with what Sargon told me in a Skype call. We were both unfathomably high. And he was going on about it, man, and I think I listened to about like 6 words and I was just like, yeah, that sounds shit, man. So I can't comment on it because all I know from what people have told me is that it's bad, but I don't know why it's bad, so I don't want to say anything. So I'll try and get an answer for you, sorry.
Hi. You said you used to be a commie. I've got a pal that's a commie. He's a good guy in all respects, trust me. But I tried to present him some evidence, but he just claims it's all propaganda, capitalist propaganda. So my question to you is, how did you wake up and see the light?
It was basically, see when I used to be a commie, and the funny thing is, I was pretty serious.
Oh no!
Yeah, even though the way I think now, that's as good as having a fucking swastika in my chest. But the way it used to be was when I was involved with communism, it was very worker orientated. A lot of people that were coming to the meetings and stuff like that were old men who used to be, ship welders and miners and all this kind of stuff. They were guys that basically get shot on by Thatcher, and they were like old school. Everything was about workers' rights, protection for workers, seize the means of production and all that stuff. But then as time and time went on, new people started joining, younger people, the ones with the funny hair and the ambiguous gender. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they ruined the entire fucking movement. Like, the funny thing is there was guys there that were like in their 50s and 60s who'd been communists their entire life, and they were having some 18-year-old going, you don't know what you're talking about. All that as well. The people that turn around and say that they want to completely abolish gender, they're all about collectivism and stuff like that as well, where they sit there with their Che Guevara shirt, who funnily enough used to execute gays. Right, but it's stuff like that that completely ruined the movement, and it just got to a point where I went, I can't deal with this anymore, because they were the ones that's when it got to the point where the younger ones wanted to go up to counter-protests. I'm completely fine with a counter-protest, but these are the guys that started turning up with poles up their sleeves and all that stuff as well, and that's when I went, no, I'm done, I'm going with it. And by this point, most of the old guys had left, because they couldn't deal with it anymore.
See the call centre you worked at, I was also there when you were there. What did they say to you when they obviously tell you to like fuck off?
Oh, WorldPay?
Aye.
I got it in an email. It was actually in the middle of the Eve keynote speech.
Aye.
It was Hilmar, who's the CEO of CCP Games, was sitting about 4 rows in front of me. And I don't know if you can hear it in the YouTube video they uploaded, man, but I'm sitting there, I'm quite drunk in the crowd. And I looked at my phone and I turned around like, mate, I got fucking sacked. They just turned around and says, your employment's terminated. I did write back going, why? And they say that WorldPay doesn't have to give you a reason. I was like, I know why, but that was it, man. I don't know which one I pointed at.
I just wanted to know what laws you were charged under. Was it just the offensive?
It was the Offensive Communications Act of 2003, and it was section 127, line 1, and it's the using an electronic communications network to communicate a message that's offensive.
Is that a Scottish law or British law?
Scottish. It's a Scottish common law. I don't know.
It's a Scottish statute.
Scottish statute. Yeah. Thank you. That's the thing is, I'm sitting reading it word for word and I don't even know what district it's fucking applied in.
You said you were also charged with the offensive behaviour at football act.
The prosecutor just threw that on there for good measure, just to make sure he could get me with something. At least, but
what's his justification that doesn't cover it?
It's because it comes under like a religious form of hatred, which is why obviously with Catholics and Protestants that was like the reason that the law was brought in. But some of the punishments for that are like years banned for football grounds and all that, and I don't even watch football, so I'll take that.
You mentioned that the SNP are the only people who want to keep that act, and the other parties, I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh no, it was and there was an article, I posted it on Twitter as well, and I actually included it in my video as well, where the law was basically up for debate. They were going to discuss whether or not to repeal it, As far as I know, it hasn't been yet, but it's due. And apparently all parties.
First stage in Parliament.
Has it passed the first stage now?
Yeah, so it's got 3 or 4 stages, and then there's a majority against it in Scottish Parliament, so it will be scrapped probably.
Just the football one?
Yeah, the whole one, offensive taking of football, Veterinary Communications Act, so yeah, it'll take a bit of hate crime law.
It'd be quite funny if the fact that my trial's taking so long that one of the laws I'm being charged under gets repealed.
Yeah, I don't imagine you can keep up to track with all the media on you, but we do have a Jewish paper in Scotland, the Jewish Telegraph, and I wonder if you know what they had to say about you, if anything.
I've not actually read it. I'm not going to read that actually. Do you know what they said?
I don't, but I'd be interested to know because I'm aware it exists.
Well, I know that there's the Times of Israel, and they were actually quite nice. They were like very, very objective. They just turned around and stated the facts, and I was actually quite blown away by it because you would think out of all of them, they'd be the ones that were pissed off. But as it turns out, I actually have a large fan base in Israel. Which I wasn't expecting.
It's interesting because a lot of the time these things get introduced by white people virtue signalling. Oh, we can't have this play on because it's got we can't do the 3 Little Pigs at school because it's going to be offensive to Muslims or something like that.
Yeah. And
it's all like white people and the Muslims are like, we don't want this is like ridiculous, it makes us look other. So yes, sometimes you get more objectivity from closer to the source that you supposedly offended.
Yeah, it's mostly the thing is like, see if you move to a country, I'm sorry, that culture's there and it's there to stay. So see how if we want to celebrate Christmas, we're going to celebrate Christmas, we're going to say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays, and all that stuff as well. I don't believe that any school's curriculum should be completely changed and altered, because apparently they wanted to completely remove sex education from school because Muslim parents were arguing that it causes impure thoughts and all that as well. And it's just that sex education is important because it's the only way that actually lowers Scotland's teen pregnancy rate, which is fucking mental. Have you ever tried to use online dating when you're in your late 20s? Single mothers everywhere now.
Do you think a law should be drawn at credible threats of violence, or your speech absolutely?
Credible threats of violence, I'm fine with the police looking into that. Like if I turn around to someone and basically, it would depend, see how many turn around and say I'm going to kill you, most of the time it's that you're just expressing how angry you are, but if you turn around to someone and go, I'm going to come to your house tonight and cave your head in and all that kind of stuff, then I would understand the police raising their eyebrow to that and stepping in. Like if it's an actual credible threat of violence and the police have good reason to believe that you will do that, then I'm fine with the police intervening because someone could be in danger.
Do you also know about like the history of the law behind it? Do you know if anyone else is being prosecuted under it? Or is there any like precedent?
Yeah, there's been a few. There was a guy from Hull who was actually imprisoned for tweets that he sent. But the thing that we are waiting on more information coming back from that. Basically, me and Sargon are trying to find the guy's family so that we can find out exactly what he posted, because the police won't release them and the press won't publish them. And the reason that we think that stinks is, see, whenever someone actually posts something like genuinely racist, genuinely horrible, then the newspapers will get that plastered everywhere. They're more than happy to show the tweets and social media posts, but in this case none of them did. So we're trying to figure out what did he post that earned him time in jail. There was also a guy from, I don't know if he got imprisoned, but he got arrested and he went through the same thing. I think he was here, where he posted tweets about refugees. I think he just called them, I think he called them the term rape-fugees and all that, and then he was basically saying that they were dirty, smelly, just the usual like shit. But he got arrested for that, and that wasn't any kind of incitement to violence whatsoever. And the whole problem is that in the police's own hate crime operational guidance handbook, the thing that's treated paramount is the victim's perception. And if it's perception, that word is in there like 30 times, where if the police perceive that what you did was bad, if what you did came from someone of hate, and the victim, who's obviously someone that you've annoyed, is going to be more than happy to lie to the police to make sure that they fuck you, because it's happened to me as well. All that matters is their perception. What will then get debated in court is whether or not that person is a reasonable person, and obviously that can be touch and go in court.
what is it that you have against mud huts?
Got a Mike Stuxbury fanboy, aye. Mud Hut Mike is probably one of my favourite guys on Twitter. He thinks I hate him. I don't hate him, right? I just think he's absolutely fantastic. I talk to him in DMs and I roast him all the time. Paul Joseph Watson gets really angry at me because I talk to him because I just think he's funny, right? I don't know if anybody knows who Mike Stuxbury is. He's a guy that actually lost his teaching job because he tried to ban banter in his classroom. He tried to also argue that mud huts were superior than Western housing. Just follow him on Twitter, he's great fun.
Is that the guy that put a nan in Luton?
That's him. I walked through a no-go zone at 3 in the morning when nobody was around.
Does Buddha still respond to see Kyle?
Can't train him. It's done. Like, there's nothing that can stop it now. Like, obviously he thinks it's treat. He thinks that when he does that he gets food. But like, the problem is whenever we've got company in, or when like me and Sue are eating dinner, he just walks up to Sue. He just does it. And like, I always just get the dirty look and I'm like, it's not me, it's fucking me. Done. Can't untrain him now.
If the purpose of the video was to merely show your girlfriend as a joke, then why did you upload it to YouTube in the first place where it's a where anyone can view it?
It's because it was only 8 people and like over, was it 400 hours of footage gets uploaded to YouTube like every second, and was it every minute, and then I just uploaded it and I went, nobody's going to see this, and even when I first uploaded it, I had 16 views. And it stayed that way for ages, so I just thought whatever. And then like someone, I've no idea how they found the video, but it's someone that's not connected to us posted it in Reddit, and then it ended up on the front page of Reddit, and that's how it got popular. But the only problem is, see if I'd have seen that, I would have like deleted the video because fucking I was like, no, I don't want people thinking that I'm a Nazi. I was too fucking late. So I had no choice but to like keep it up. But I didn't. It was because I didn't expect that. I just thought this is just a needle in a stack of needles. Nobody's going to find it. Fucking, I was wrong, wasn't I?
Why will you not work for Rebel Media?
What?
Why will you not work for Rebel Media?
I don't know if you're aware of all the stuff that kind of went on. There's a few things, and I've had some stuff said to me by certain people that have been behind the scenes there, and I'm just kind of, I like them, I like what they do, but as far as employment goes, I can't talk about that. Like, the stuff that was told to me was given to me in confidence, so I can't talk about that. Sorry.
How did you get banned from the land of the Schmeckles? That's genuinely an achievement to me. How do you get banned from a country for just like...
It was just because as soon as I got arrested, apparently the way it works, if you get arrested for any kind of hate crime involving Jewish people, it's just, that's it.
Just kind of like the idea of Benjamin Netanyahu doing that. How did you find out though? Did like someone like really get black?
My lawyer basically explained it to me. He turned it around and says that this is the way it goes and this and that and everything. He went, like, Mossad will probably have a file on you. That as well, but I think Mossad has got bigger things to worry about, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, like regarding you being fired from your job and then like having difficulties gaining employment in the aftermath, something that I've heard suggested from non-libertarian people on the right is that there should actually be legal protections brought in so people can't be fired or denied employment because of their political views.
Yeah.
Whereas like the libertarian approach to it is like a private company can do what they want. If you find a racist working for you, then you're free to fire them or whatever. But market forces can then be leveraged by people with an agenda to, have someone like yourself who's clearly not a racist or anything become unemployable in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, the thing with that is that's part of the social consequences that the far left try and use. Basically, if they can't get you with the law, what they'll do is they'll then write to your employer and try and get you fired. I think as long as see anything you do outside of work, like if it's political opinions and stuff like that, that's your business and it's nothing to do with your work. Like unless you're actually sitting working at the checkout in Tesco and you're sitting there saying something like that to customers, like there weren't really any gas chambers, you do. See if you do that, right, then I understand your manager weeking you away, right? But like, see anything you do outside of work is your business, and you shouldn't be fired because of your politics at work, because the thing that I've brought this up before is see how a lot of the far left are pretty much a welfare state. If none of the alt-right are working, you're going to be the one paying their bills, aren't you? Right, so I don't think they should be punished for their opinions.
Have you had any support at all, I mean real support from anybody in the Scottish Government or any MP or anybody with any clout at all?
No.
Seriously?
None.
Not one?
No, I'm not tired of nobody wants to touch. I think people are still thinking that there's going to be some sort of big revelation where they're going to find out that I secretly am a Nazi or something like that. Like there's loads of people, even like other.
Yeah, but so fuck if you were. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
I'm pretty sure. See if I was a politician, I don't even know. I'm not fucking him.
I don't in jail. Well, I'm perfectly willing to stand up for somebody whose views that I think are repugnant personally. But they should be allowed to say them, and nobody should have their fucking living denied to them because of something that they believe, even if that belief is repugnant to me. That goes whether it's Muslims, Jews, people who fucking hate fags, whatever it is. I think people should be able to say what they like without suffering consequences like that. And it shames me that not one single politician has had the fucking stones to wade in and stand up for free speech in this.
You can't virtue signal by supporting free speech, that's why.
Yeah.
Is the pug video still on your channel?
Gulagged. I was like, the problem is like the courts are really unhappy about it, but see, because it's like YouTube, nobody can really speak to a human at YouTube. Basically, they ended up gulagging the video, and like the prosecutor and my lawyer are kicking up and going, that's being used in an active case. Apparently my trial was also the first in Scotland where an active internet connections had to be used, and they've had to play my videos in court. The best part in the entire trial actually was one of the people that was in to give evidence against me was a member from Scotland's Cybercrime Intelligence Division. And you know the people that are meant to catch paedophiles and terrorists? Yeah. And he was asked to define for the court what a dank meme was. And the thing that made it so much worse was he got it fucking wrong. I'm supposed to be totally silent while sitting in the dock. I'm sitting there looking at him. That's not it at all, man.
How did you describe it?
What?
How did you describe it?
It was something like a funny picture or video, but I'm sitting there like about to whip out my fedora like someone's
Do you think it's a bit of a generational gap? Like we've been raised to laugh at like dark jokes and you know it goes basically darker and darker. Like the more you get into the internet, the more. Do you think just like these older people that arrest you? Do you think that they just don't get it basically, and they're like, ooh, he said Zigal, so that's very serious.
They're called normies.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing as well. Like my Discord. I don't know if anybody here's a member of my Discord, but
Whitey round.
Whiteys have no righties. But my Discord is a place of absolute utter degeneracy, and we've got black people, Jewish people, trans people, and they all basically say racial epithets and everything to each other. It is basically everyone just says it, and everyone's just absolutely cruel to each other, and it's got to the point where phrases like nigger, faggot, all that type of stuff as well is just white noise and none of us give a shit. Right, nobody cares anymore. Like, it's the fact that we've got Jewish people as well who constantly, there's this actual competition going on in my Discord just now. It's owned by a certain person called Helbert, so I'll just use his online name. And it's the Crown of Alpha Jew. And the Alpha Jew is the Jew on my Discord who has the most shekels. And so currently Helbert is the Alpha Jew. You need to actually post a picture of your bank account and prove you have more shekels than Helbert's if you want the crown. Helbert's is rich, by the way. But it's just like, that's just the way it is. Like, see how things like racism and all that, like, we don't care. Like, none of us care. Total acceptance. We've got true equality and it's on my Discord of all places.
Do you not think there's like potential for that to become a problem though? Like, I understand that nobody means it.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where there is this much noise that things do eventually lose their meaning and people sort of become numb to the fact that there's situations where you shouldn't say these things because people will be fucking.
But it is people's reaction to it that's causing the problem. it's a case of see if these words no longer have meaning. Like obviously he's all seen the iDubbbz video where he said nigger became monjo. Mongo, I don't know how the hell you pronounce it right, but he turned around and says by putting these words on the pedestal you're giving them the power that you don't want them to have. Like basically the words have become that bad where if someone gets one of these phrases said to them, they have a whole fainting couch moment and cuts their pearls. But see if these words end up becoming meaningless, even if someone says them with meaning, someone can just carry on with their day and just go, well, what?
But not so much how other people take the words, but how you as a person, if you're constantly hitting out with this pattern all the time, then you become a bit fucking numb to the experiences of people that have had.
I have awareness when I'm saying it. Like
I know,
I'm in front of a black person, I wouldn't call him a nigger or anything like that. Right? I've got like, see how it's a word that I don't really use in my mockery. I do say like things like filthy white people an awful lot, and then I'll make jokes and stuff like that. But like, see how terms like that, I wouldn't, you know, like skip down the street with a megaphone, just like screaming it everywhere. Like obviously there needs to be context and intent behind what you say. I think using it as in an insulting sense, in a true sense, where you would actually say it to a black person, people like that are the ones that I look at and go, yeah, hold on a wee second. Like those are the ones that I watch out for. But for the most part, I've not seen it. And the funny thing is the alt-right don't use words like that. They're pretty much no, alt-right are special cases.
How did you manage to steal the caveman for the time capsule?
Do you know about that? Shit. I got caught for it, right, so I can tell this. I don't know if anybody's been to the time capsule in Coat Bridge. I'm not from there anymore, by the way, so I'm not boxing myself. But there was a caveman in there and I just broke in one day and I stole it.
Aye, but did you jump from the gallery down?
No, there was construction getting done and like the windows were just covered with a curtain and me and my pals were just drunk and we just lifted the curtain and walked in and ran away with a caveman. The police came to my door. We were going to have a laugh with it and ransom it back to them. It turns out they didn't even want it anyway because it was all getting renovated. I got caught for it though, it was fine.
It's a shame.
Considering that you know, we're sort of the country where we've always had edgy humor, you know, like fucking sorry, my brain's dying. So basically the question I want to ask is have any comedians came out to support you, considering, you know, comedy and free speech kind of go together?
The most notable ones is Ricky Gervais and Dave Baddiel. They came out as well. David Baddiel actually got brought on my trial by my lawyer, especially the thing that served us most well was bringing up his Twitter, and literally the only thing he has in his bio is Jew. So that was a great help. Like, there have been comedians that have came out. Lemmy did at first, but then he's kind of backed away because of some of the other stuff that I post. Frankie Boyle is aware of me, but he hasn't even acknowledged me, but we all know what's kind of happened to him. But like, the two most notable ones have been Ricky Gervais and Dave Baddiel.
How did you like get talking to Tommy, or like in Paul Joseph Watson, Alex Jones, all these people that?
Oh, they all reached out to me.
Oh, did they?
The thing that a lot of people get kind of raging about is see like all these people and all that I've met, I didn't really try. Like everyone just sort of like sought me out and all that as well. So like I just talked to them now as like pals and everything. When I was down in London, I wanted to do a collab with Paul Joseph Watson. I wanted to do a video of just basically me and him in a pub snorting brain force off a table. It wasn't the idea.
How's Alex Jones? Like, is he sound? Like,
I like him, right? He's just such an interesting gentleman, right? It was like we were in a Skype call together, right? And it was like he's sitting talking to me, and he was just so normal, right? And I was just sitting chatting away to him, and everything was just chill, and it was fine. And then, as soon as the camera started rolling, that's when he just went like that, and just fucking kicked off. And all, man, I managed to see how the little bit at the start of the Alex Jones interview, like they told me to send them a wee paragraph about me, And I was like, I never know what to put in these. And then someone said, put in Leader of the Dank Brigade, just to see if he says it. and I did, and he actually fucking said it. You can't see me like on screen at that point, but I'm live on Skype, and I'm just sitting there like, fucking said it.
Does this mean that you'll be vouching for his claim in custody court? An actor and not actually serious about what he says.
This is the thing, is I don't know where that goes, right? I think a part of me kind of looks at him and goes, do you really believe half the shit you say? Right? Like, but the thing that probably caught me off guard was he turned around and says the famous putting chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay, and everyone rolled their eyes and went, yeah, okay then Alex, and then it turned out it was fucking true. Right, there's some things that he's put me that were true, but then like the reason I've started to back away from him is when he turns around and goes, Sandy Hook's a hoax. that's when I kind of went, nah, sorry man. But like, I don't know, right, see, even after speaking to him privately, I can tell there is something a bit crazy there, but I have no idea at this point if he's an actor or not. I think that's what he wants.
Are you religious, and do you have an opinion on the sectarian fight in Scotland?
Obviously I don't like any kind of violence or hatred for each other over something stupid, because I know that obviously the main hatred between them was years ago. It's the same as like a lot of people go like, oh, are you Scottish, or do you absolutely hate the English then? And it's like, no, I don't hate people for what their ancestors did 400 years ago to my ancestors. Like, I wasn't even fucking there. But like, I don't care. I'm not going to hold that against people that had absolutely nothing to do with it. Like, so even in that regard as well, I think obviously sectarian violence is stupid, and I don't support it. And as for religion, there is only one God, and that's Satan. The Church of Satan actually wish me luck. They tweeted at me something like, we believe in the right to offend, best of luck today, hail Satan. Thanks Satan.
Given your distaste for the current political parties and the kind of shit show that Brexit's turning into under the ostensibly pro-Brexit Tory party, what's your view for the future of democracy in this country? Is it just going to tick over and be reasonable again, or is there need for like a new machine or something?
I think everything will be fine as soon as George Soros dies. Just being honest now, he's meddling. The thing that I find quite funny is the alt-right go look at George Soros, he's a Jew and he's behind absolutely everything, he's working for Israel. Israel have an arrest warrant out for him, they hate him. Like, Israel hate George Soros and all that, but the alt-right apparently say that he's... What? It's like, I know, but the problem with that is like democracy, it all just depends on the swing. Like the problem is, you know, you get the political pendulum, like, you know, you can see it mostly in America, and also here as well. We had Labour, then we had Tories, then in America we had like Bush, then we had Obama, and then we went back to Trump. I'm worried that if we go too far left here, the pendulum's going to come back and we're going to go extremely far to the right, like Macron in France.
But are they any different? Are we saying like Bush Obama in terms of war, or are they, well, especially their foreign policy, are they actually any different? Is it just like a new face? I mean, new Labour, are we saying new Labour's Labour, and the Tories are...
Obama loved these fucking drone strikes, didn't he?
So it's like, is it any different, or is it just this kind of swamp, if you'd like to use the term, of democracy?
You're a Cernovich fan, yeah.
Is really a... not really. Is it really a pendulum, or does it just get stuck?
I think it's it's either a pendulum itself or the illusion of a pendulum. The stuff you said there. Obviously, Obama did come around and went, "I'm going to be the great change," and then he just kind of continued along with what Bush was doing. Like, I'm going to shut down Guantanamo, and then he didn't. And I'm going to like fix Iraq and, you know, bring our troops home and all that, and then he didn't. And all that, but like I think he did eventually, like after years and years. But like the whole problem is like even over here as well, we had like Labour and the Tories and all that, the back and forth. It's just that. In America, I would maybe agree that it is a little bit of an illusion. I'm not going full conspiracy theorist here, right? I'm not going to go Alex Jones or Mike Cernovich and believe that every single party that gets voted in all know each other and all work for each other. And I'm not going down the Illuminati route, fuck that. But like, but what was your question again, mate? I'm sorry. I'm trying my best to stay on track.
What's it going to turn out like, in your view? Something new, or this will just end up turning out alright eventually, given action?
I think if external interference stops, then the public will be able to have a say. Because public want freedom for the most part. Everybody wants to be able to have freedom, and they obviously want their rights protected.
Do they really care, or do they just want public services to be fine and taxes to be lower? Like, is it like this is
like none of that would really matter under a dictatorship, if I'm being honest. But like, the public do want safety most of all. Like, obviously they want to be safe, which is why it's dead easy to get them to put in other laws and give the government more powers when it comes to things like, you know, the random truck attacks and all that as well.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace would be nice as well. But like, the thing is, at this point, like, do remember that I'm not an intellectual or anything like that. You should probably all gathered that. With the fact, like, I came here high on painkillers. I don't have a problem. I had a tooth out. Right? No, but like, I want it to get better. I genuinely do. I want us to go down the libertarian route, or liberalist. As it's called, right? I know a lot of people roll their eyes at that shit, right? I like them, but I don't know if I'm a full member yet. I'll see how it goes.
It's kind of two questions in one. What do you see someone who used to be a socialist or a communist? What do you think of Jeremy Corbyn?
Comrade Corbyn?
Yes.
He's very, very anti-Israel, and
most of the Labour Party are.
But like, I don't know, he's a bit too far left, and a lot of the stuff that he's trying to ask for has just got absolutely no grounds in reality. Like, for example, rich, wealthy people that have multiple homes sitting empty, he plans to seize them from them.
Choose one.
It's not for you, it's for migrants. You get to the back of the line, Whitey. Oh shit, someone probably recorded that. But like, a lot of people that have far left things where they go, we're going to heavily tax corporations, we're going to heavily tax the rich, we're going to start seizing their assets, don't know anything about capital flight, which is what happened in Venezuela, where basically we're going to heavily tax these companies, where they went, well, it's not profitable for us to be here anymore, so they pulled out and made thousands and thousands unemployed, and then all the rich, wealthy people just went, oh, well, fuck us then, and just everybody left. So it's the whole, oh, you're going to use the rich to fund everything, well, that's nice, they're gone. Like, so what now?
I used to kind of think Corbyn, for all his faults, was genuine.
Yeah.
And then you have a look at his old opinions of the European Union, he's such a Eurosceptic. And then I was seeing this, I thought it was a genuine meme, I thought it was a shitpost. But he's actually got, like, belated birthday to myself on his Instagram post. There's a picture of cakes with Vote Remain on it. I was like, I've seen videos of you sitting there slating the European Union.
Yeah.
You're a fucking sellout. Like,
He goes with whatever is a popular opinion.
What do you think about that, like Brexit? Were you in it?
Well, I was out.
Oh, good boy.
What a lot of people will turn around and say to me is, oh, what about the European Convention of Human Rights? How can you be anti-EU when the European Convention of Human Rights could help you? And I was like, Article 10, like, if anybody's ever actually read it, it's fucking hilarious because it doesn't give you fucking anything. Article 1, it says that a person has the right to be completely free from, you know, persecution and all that type of stuff for their opinions, and I don't remember it word for word, but then Article 2 turns around and goes, but if there's anything that's like a threat to the state or a threat to someone's safety or like a threat to national security and all that kind of stuff as well, we know that those terms can be applied very broadly and vaguely. They like a vague law.
Yeah.
They can just turn around and take away your right to free speech, which basically means that under the European Human Rights Convention, it's not a right, it's a privilege that can be taken away from you at any time. So I was anti-EU just because I don't think, you know, but yeah, I think it's my granda. It's a guy that actually said to me that the European Union is how the Germans conquered Europe without firing a shot.
Yeah, fed up with World Wars, just Merkel can take the wheel.
Oh, Merkel, she's funny.
Yeah, there's other people take the wheel.
Aye.
In Stockholm.
Usually it's through a Christmas market. I keep forgetting where I am. Usually when I've got the luxury of video editing software, I can remove shit. Yeah.
It's a bit more of a serious question. Are traps gay?
Objectively, no. Traps are not gay.
You're wrong.
I'm happy to debate you. By the way, see earlier when I said I'm not an intellectual, see when it comes to traps. You'll never see such cognitive dissonance. Aye.
Yeah. Do you think Corbyn and his communist cronies actually have a chance of getting into real power? And if so, what's your escape plan?
I'm probably going to get my door kicked in at 4 in the morning, a black bag flung over my head, and then it's off to the gulag. Don't know, probably hire a boat, get the fuck out of here, go to America.
Ireland?
Ireland?
Oh, that's fucking all
Fuck
that.
Was trapped. That's a question for the organisers. Was there any resistance for you to show here tonight?
I don't know. Was there?
Any resistance?
No.
Deplatforming? There was the message from Ezra talking about deplatforming.
No, it was,
anybody to show up.
we didn't get anything about. Did we Raf? There was no resistance to us organising this event, was there?
No, I have to say that I'm very pleased that I got a call from University Security yesterday saying that they would be around to prevent anyone from disturbing the event. So that's the only thing that, yeah, we didn't really have any problems, not even with the SRC.
That's cool though. I'm disappointed, but I'm kidding on. I want to go smoothly.
I'm part of the SRC myself, so maybe that's why.
On the liberalist subject, do you think that Sargon has what it takes to be a real leader?
Well, Sargon is a very dear friend of mine. Right, I do like him and I do agree with what he's trying to do. He needs to work on his debate technique a little bit. Especially, he also needs to think through. See how whenever I turn around and say something edgy, I can get away with it because that's just who I am. See when he was on that live stream and he turned around to all the alt-writers in the chat and says, "Do you know you're acting like a bunch of niggers?" That's what, even I kind of sat there like, think it through, man. But like, as far as leadership, see when it comes to actually having a political discourse and outlining principles and defending these principles, yes, I believe he's more than capable of that. But his actual debate technique, he definitely does need to work on.
Slightly also kind of going off the streams kind of thing. Is there such thing as ethical child porn?
Do you want to know how all of my streams were all funny except for that one? No, there shouldn't be any such thing as ethical fucking. Is this, are you referring to Destiny or Amos Yee?
Yeah, little guy.
Little guy or
Yeah.
Destiny then?
Yeah.
No, there shouldn't be ethical fucking child porn. Amos Yee is actually on the streets. His landlord found out about he was basically pro paedophilia and his landlord found out and kicked him out, and that's why none of us have heard from him since. But anyway.
So generally I'm going to make things a bit more boring again with a serious question, an actual serious one. So something I've noticed between like the older conservatives and like those in like the new right and that is that the older conservatives like your Peter Hitchens or your Roger Scruton seem to be pessimists.
Yeah.
They seem to just feel like there's nothing to stop this neo-Marxist consensus, it's just going on, whereas like younger ones like Paul Joseph Watson are always talking about how conservatism's a new counterculture and all that.
Yeah.
So like, are you a pessimist, and if not, are you a revolutionary?
I have got to the stage of just absolute nihilism where I've just went, oh, that's so fucked. there's absolutely nothing that's going to fucking stop this. Like, and I have got there, but see now that we're noticing people are actually losing places of power, like for example the thing I pointed out earlier was UC Davis was getting funding pulled, and they basically realised that they now need to greatly dial back, because basically if anyone is a conservative or like right leaning, like I know that anyone that's slightly right of centre just immediately gets branded a racist and a Nazi nowadays, and why would someone want to spend thousands and thousands of pounds to go to university to get reminded of that every single day? Like so that's why people are going, no, fuck that, I'm not going to go.
So if there is any way of sorting it, would you say it would be revolutionary in nature then?
Well, it depends what you mean by revolution.
Well,
I don't think we should don the balaclavas and grab our AKs or anything like that. But like, I do think there needs to be more political activism from the right. I know that a lot of people see the activists as the ones that are walking around with the little tiki torches and all that kind of stuff as well, and I don't want us to be associated with that at all, but there does definitely need to be more activism. We're looking to contact MPs. See how many MPs are too scared to speak out in regards to free speech, because then they'll immediately be the black sheep. We are trying to contact as many as we can and basically inform them that other MPs feel the same way, and also to say that they have their backing, the ones that actually support and endorse free speech, just so that we're basically wanting to get them all together and tell them you're not alone. Like,
even though you will get shit from everyone, like we'll all be behind you.
Should I say just 3 more questions because we've got the room only until 8, and after that we're not allowed.